Welcome everybody to the online demo for French toast. Today we're going to begin with our recipe. One of the first things you want to do with every recipe is make sure that you read through it first, and then you want to get your mise en place ready. Your mise en place is simply all of your ingredients, making sure that they're together in one place, ready to go, so you can make your meal efficiently and as quickly as you can. So French toast is very simple. The recipe right here, which is in your packet, there's a link to your recipe online and in your Canvas course, and you should be able to access that with no problem. For today's purposes, we've cut this recipe in half, but we're going to go forward and do what's on the recipe. We've got eggs, milk, a little bit of salt already portioned out, some sugar, butter, bread, and this is your cinnamon sugar mixture for the end. One of the very first things you need to do is make sure that you've got a hot pan. You're going to get your saute pan nice and hot. Today, I'm just using a portable burner. You can do this in your kitchen at home. It can be an electric range. It could be a gas stove. It doesn't really matter as long as your pan is hot before you get started. While your pan is heating up, I'm going to turn this down just a little bit so it doesn't get crazy hot. While your pan is starting up, let's go ahead and crack our eggs. One of the things that I like to do is have a waste bucket or a container to put the shells in. Me personally, I like to save the shells to add to my compost, go to my garden. You can do the same thing. Crack your eggs. Just like that. For this recipe, there was 12 eggs in the original recipe, and there are 6 because we're having it. So all 6 eggs are in your recipe. Now, what I like to do is take your whisk, just kind of break up the eggs a little bit, and get that going. At this point, your recipe does tell you to add to mix your cinnamon and sugar separately, which we've already done. The next step for this, you're going to mix all your ingredients together, your milk, your salt, your sugar for this. So I like to add my sugar first. Give it plenty of time, and then your salt. Plenty of time to give the sugar time to dissolve within the eggs in the mixture. Sugar really has a hard time dissolving in anything cold, and you really can't heat up your eggs without turning it into scrambled eggs. So there's the milk. Let me put this aside. Now, that's it. Just scramble them up just like that. Okay? Put this off to the side here. I don't touch the pan, just wave my hand over top, and you kind of feel the heat coming off the pan, and you know it's getting nice and warm. And then the next step, add a little bit of butter to your pan. Make sure that you adjust your heat. Want your pan, be careful because your pan has got a metal handle and it's going to be hot, so I've got a hot pad in my hand. Once you let your bread kind of soak up into your egg mixture a little bit, get it all nice and coated. And then I like to do, since we're doing this at home, you want to take your time, get your pan nice and hot, and you don't want to overcrowd your pan. You don't want to put too many pieces of bread in your pan. Just make sure that you've got enough room in there for the bread to cook and the eggs to cook. Now I'm going to go ahead and just turn up the heat just a little bit to make sure that it gets nice and golden brown. This just takes a couple minutes per side. Give it a nice swirl like that. You see how it's not sticking? That means your pan was nice and hot when you started. If you put your bread in there and you go to shake it like that, and you see it not sliding around, that means your pan was cold and the eggs are sticking to the pan, and that's not what you want. And then you got to scrape it in there, and then you're going to spend, you know, all day washing dishes. This pan does not have have nonstick coating in it, so I can take a piece of metal. If you've got a spatula at home, plastic is fine to do that. If you've got a pan that's nonstick at home, you don't want to use a metal pan, a metal spatula in your nonstick pan, because that'll scratch it. You don't want to scratch up your parents' nice nonstick pans. All right. So as you can see, I had adjusted the heat got the pan nice and hot. Once it was nice and hot, I lowered it, added the butter so the butter doesn't burn when we put it in there. Just takes a couple seconds when we're in there. Now, once I flip it, I'm going to go ahead and get my next piece of bread ready to go. So if you want to flip your French toast like that, it's just a simple motion. You bring your pan, you're using the pan's curve like this. A little bit of inertia is what makes that go over. Now it's nice and brown. So I'm going to take this one, give it one. You can see how the bread's still a little soft. When it's done, it'll be nice and it'll have a firmness to it. Needs just like one more minute, maybe 30 seconds. It's getting nice and golden brown. I like that. So now what I'm going to do here is take this, put it right on our plate. Then I'm going to take one more piece of butter, put it in my pan. Notice because I didn't adjust the flame, I'm bringing my butter up off the flame a little bit. You can do that with your home. You notice I didn't put the pan right back on the heat because the pan is still hot. The French toast was a little cooler, so it'll bring the temperature of the pan down so you don't burn your bread and burn your butter. Now you put it back on. Okay? So that's how you can kind of adjust temperature without really turning the dial on your stove all the time, especially if you've got an electric stove that's a little bit harder to really control because you can't see the flame with an electric stove. So if you get your pan too hot, go ahead and just move it off the heat just like that. And you can control the temperature just by doing it like that. We'll do this one last piece. We'll present it. We'll put it over here on our plate, and then we'll sprinkle it up in our cinnamon and sugar mixture. All right, it looks like this one is done now. We're going to turn off our heat. We're going to place this piece of French toast on our plate just like that. I'm going to take, me personally, I like a little bit of butter on my French toast. Right in the middle. It'll melt down, get it all nice and gooey, and then you can add your cinnamon and sugar mixture. I take it, just simply sugar and cinnamon, mix it up. You can do a couple things. You can sprinkle it. You can take a little small spoon like this, sprinkle it like this. Or you want to get crazy with it, have a little fun, sprinkle it just like that. All right, just take your hands. You're cooking at home, you might as well use your hands. And it makes it, make sure that you get, so when you mix it up, make sure that you can see those cinnamon and sugar, making sure that it gets all mixed up so you don't have more sugar or more cinnamon. Make sure it's evenly mixed up, okay? And that, ladies and gentlemen, is French toast. Hope you enjoyed today's demo. Thank you.